These are international powers who only recognise strength, which is why the United States of America under my leadership is now, after only 1 year, respected like never before. The UK giving away extremely important land is an act of great stupidity and is another in a very long line of national security reasons why Greenland has to be acquired. Denmark and its European allies have to do the right thing. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Simon Danczuk, former Labour MP and Reform defector, just absolutely nailed it by saying this has skewered Starmer on the international stage.
Imagine, if you will, a world where the British government decides to hand over a strategically vital archipelago, a place so important it's basically the unsinkable aircraft carrier of the Indian Ocean. And they do it for, well, a bit of a pat on the back and a massive bill. Now imagine Donald J. Trump, a man who treats real estate like a blood sport, watching this from the Oval Office. It was never going to be a quiet afternoon tea, was it? We're talking about the Chagos Islands, a tiny speck of land with a massive target on it, and the American president has just dropped a truth social bomb that has sent Westminster into a total meltdown. He's calling it total weakness, great stupidity, and wait for it, the ultimate justification for why he needs to buy Greenland. Yes, you heard that right. It's the crossover episode no one asked for, but everyone is watching. Quick favour, if you're loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It's free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Thanks. If you did, now back to the show. So let's set the scene. It is early 2026, and the special relationship is looking a little less James Bond and Felix Leiter, and a little more angry landlord and a tenant who just gave away the garage. Keir Starmer's Labour government, in their infinite quest for international legal tidiness, decided to finalise a deal to hand sovereignty of the Chagos Islands over to Mauritius. On paper, it looks like a decolonisation victory. In reality, it has opened a diplomatic rift so wide you could sail a nuclear submarine through it, which is ironic because that's exactly what the US uses the islands for. Trump didn't just disagree, he went full art of the deal on Starmer. He took to social media to blast the UK as a brilliant ally, and yes, the air quotes were practically audible through the screen, before accusing the Prime Minister of handing over Diego Garcia for no reason whatsoever. This isn't just a spat over a few palm trees and some sandy beaches. This is about the crown jewel of US-UK military cooperation, the base at Diego Garcia. And while Starmer is trying to explain the fine print of a 99-year lease, Trump is out here playing 4D chess, linking the whole mess to his burning desire to acquire Greenland. Because if Britain is giving away islands, Trump figures it's only fair he starts collecting them like Pokemon. The timing is what really makes this spicy. We are officially in the Trump 2.0 era, and the polite diplomacy of the previous administration has been replaced by a president who views national security through the lens of strength and property ownership. To Trump, Starmer hasn't just settled a legal dispute, he's signalled to China and Russia that the West is having a closing down sale. It's bold, it's witty in its sheer audacity, and it has left Downing Street scrambling to figure out if they've just accidentally invited a 25% tariff on British biscuits because of a rock in the Indian Ocean. Buckle up, because if you thought the Chagos deal was just about history books, you've clearly forgotten that in the modern world, everything is a leverage point for a much bigger, much weirder geopolitical game. Let's look at the actual crime according to the White House. The Chagos Islands Agreement, which was hammered out in May 2025, essentially hands the keys of the British Indian Ocean territory to Mauritius. Now, the Labour government will tell you this was a legal necessity. They'll point to the International Court of Justice, the UN, and the fact that we were looking a bit lonely on the global stage defending a colonial-era holdout. But Trump sees the world differently. He doesn't see legal necessity. He sees giving up the high ground. The deal includes a 99-year lease for the base on Diego Garcia. Starmer says this secures the base for a century. Trump, however, looks at a 99-year lease and sees an expiration date. He's basically saying, why lease it when you already owned it? It's like selling your house to your neighbour and then paying them rent to live in the spare bedroom. To a man who built a career on owning the dirt beneath his feet, this is the ultimate sin. And let's be honest, the logic of we're giving it away so we can keep it is a very British civil service way of thinking that was never going to sit well with a president who wants to see USA stamped on every strategic port from here to the moon.
Total hypocrisy. This is a man who yesterday said, it's not for Donald Trump to decide what Greenlanders want. Greenlanders should vote on what they want. But you didn't give the vote to the Chagos people, did you? You gave it away to Mauritius, which is in China's pocket, without even so much as a debate. Starmer, excuse me, being found out and called out as stupid by the most powerful man in the world. Loads to talk about. That's just, wow.
But wait, there's a financial kicker that has the British taxpayer reaching for the smelling salts. The UK has committed to annual payments of roughly £101 million to Mauritius. Over the course of the lease, we're talking billions. We are literally paying for the privilege of giving our territory away. Trump's great stupidity comment starts to make a bit more sense when you realise the British public is essentially subsidising their own territorial downsizing. It's like breaking up with someone and then agreeing to pay their Netflix subscription for the next 100 years. If you think Starmer is having a tough time with Trump, wait until you see who's cheering from the sidelines, because Nigel Farage has entered the chat and he's brought a megaphone. Enter Nigel Farage. The leader of Reform UK and Donald Trump's self-appointed British translator was practically vibrating with glee when the president's post dropped. Farage didn't just agree, he claimed that Trump has effectively vetoed the deal. Now, legally speaking, a US president can't veto a British sovereign treaty, but in the world of political optics, a Trump tweet is a pretty heavy sledgehammer. Farage is framing this as a moment of national shame, suggesting that the special relationship is being torched by a Labour government that doesn't understand how the big boys play. Farage's intervention is a masterclass in I told you so. He's been shouting about Chagos for months, warning that the Americans would hate it. And now that the big man in Washington has confirmed his suspicions, Farage is using it to paint Starmer as a globalist pushover. It's a powerful narrative, the weak Prime Minister versus the strong President. While Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Darren Jones, was on Sky News trying to keep a straight face while saying the base is secure, Farage was busy telling everyone that the Americans are appalled. The drama doesn't stop at the English Channel, though. Trump has tied this entire surrender to his obsession with Greenland. In his Truth Social rant, he explicitly stated that the UK's act of total weakness is why the United States has to acquire Greenland from Denmark. His logic? If Europe is too weak or stupid to hold on to strategic land, the Americans need to step in and take over before China or Russia does. He's essentially using Keir Starmer as a cautionary tale to bully the Danes. Look at what the Brits did, he's saying. Don't be like Keir. Sell me the ice sheet before you accidentally give it to someone else. From the Indian Ocean to the Arctic Circle, the world is becoming one giant real estate brochure for the Trump administration, and Keir Starmer is currently the before picture in a very aggressive makeover. The geopolitical stakes here are genuinely massive. Diego Garcia isn't just a place where soldiers get a tan. It's the nerve center for US power projection in the Indo-Pacific. It's where the long-range bombers live. It's where nuclear submarines go for a quiet nap. It is the front line against Chinese naval expansion. By ceding sovereignty to Mauritius, a country that has increasingly close ties with Beijing, the UK has introduced a giant maybe into a region that used to be a definitely. Labour argues that without this deal, international courts would have made the base inoperable. They claim they've secured a veto over any foreign military presence on the other islands. But Trump's point is that once you give up the title deed, your veto is only as good as the next government's mood. It's a gamble. Starmer is betting on international law. Trump is betting on strength. And in a world where Russia is pushing borders and China is building islands out of thin air in the South China Sea, strength is a much easier sell to the public than a 99-year lease with a complex arbitration clause.
No wonder why British people think our Prime Minister is weak. He cares more about international law than defending our borders, doesn't he? Trump's move has made him look even weaker. A Prime Minister, by the way, who gave away the Chagos Islands because of that phrase they all love, international law. And here is his latest tweet, astonishingly similar to other European leaders. Did they perhaps have a little group phone call to decide what they should all say? Do you think he spoke to little Napoleon in France and said, oh, Macron, what are we going to do? We all hate it, but we have to say something.
And then there's the Greenland factor. Trump has actually threatened 25% tariffs on European allies, including the UK, until Denmark agrees to sell Greenland. He's framing it as a national security necessity. By linking Chagos to Greenland, he's created a narrative where European decolonisation is actually a security threat to the United States. It puts Starmer in an impossible position. If he doubles down on the Chagos deal, he risks further infuriating a president who is already looking for excuses to slap tariffs on British goods. It's a high-stakes game of chicken where the UK is driving a Morris Minor and Trump is in a monster truck. As we watch this battle of the islands unfold, one thing is clear: the days of quiet, polite British diplomacy are over. We're in a world of obliteration via social media, and Keir Starmer has just found himself in the crosshairs. So where does this leave us? The treaty remains unratified, stuck in a swamp of parliamentary resistance and transatlantic unease. The House of Lords is grumbling, the Conservatives under Kemi Badenoch are nodding along with Trump, and the Reform UK benches are basically throwing a party. Starmer's legal necessity is looking more like a political landmine every day. He wanted to tidy up a historical loose end, but instead he's managed to get himself obliterated by the most powerful man in the world on live TV, or at least the digital equivalent. Whether you think Trump is a visionary protector of Western strength or a madcap property mogul trying to buy the world, you can't deny he's changed the conversation. The Chagos Islands are no longer a footnote in a history book. They are a symbol of a massive ideological divide between the old-school rules-based order and the new-school might-is-right reality. Starmer might have the law on his side, but Trump has the megaphone, the tariffs, and a very clear vision for a map that includes a lot more stars and stripes. Thank you for watching the British Report. Over and out.